محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So in Quran City, we're looking at Muhammad Square, and we've looked at Taha and Yasin, and today we're going to look at the two surah that we've put in Ahlul Bayt Circle. You can see it on your screen. So they're 76 and 108. Kawthar has always been my favorite surah, as is Dahr, but it's just phenomenal. Anyway, let's start with Sura Al Dahr, also known as Sura Al Insan, which is Surah of the human being. Dahr actually means endless time. It's also known as Hal Ata, which is has there not come. And as we go in the ayat, we'll see that. It's also known as Al Abrar, which is the righteous. So there's four names: Al Insan, Al Dahr, Hal Ata, and Al Abrar. So we've got four names to this surah. Four names, four sections. The first section is ayah 1 to 3, which actually tells you the origin, the origin of life, the divine guidance for a human being, and his purpose of life. And it's quite awesome. There's only one ayah on the consequences of ungratefulness on Jahannam, and then we have 5 to 22, which actually gives us a picture of Jannah. There's a lot of the Jannah catering companies, we'll talk about it, but literally it's 5 to 22, which tells us about the recompense of those who are walking, talking, righteous people. And finally, in section 4, which is ayah 23 to 31, we've got connecting to divinity, but how? It's got 5, and you can remember that it's sort of 5 instructions literally given to the Prophet and thereby given to us as well. So let's go to this surah. It's known as the Surah of the Ahlul Bayt because it has the story of when Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima fast for 3 days, giving their iftar to the needy, the orphan, and the captive, and we'll come to that. This is the benefits of recitation. But we're going to look right from the beginning at section 1. So let's go through ayah by ayah, and if you've got your Qurans in front of you, obviously we're going to look at that. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Allah is asking a question. He's saying, Hal ata alal insani hinun. Hal is a question. Has there not come alal insan, on the human being? An insan, literally a human, is a creation that forgets. It's come from nasiya. Hinum minat dahari. A time, dahr, like I said, was literally endless time. Lam yakun shay'an madhkura, when he was not even something that you would mention. If I take my life and add 9 months, or even 8 months, or until my mother found out that she was carrying me, I was not even worth mentioning. Nobody would even know I existed. So he's saying, you're a forgetful creature. You forget that only a little while ago, in my case a long while ago, only in a little while ago, you were something that nobody even mentioned about. You weren't even worth mentioning, and now here you are standing up thinking you know it all. Now he says, Inna, indeed we, khalaqna al-insan, we created the human being, min nutfatin. Nutfa is literally fluid. It's base fluid. So we created you from this drop of fluid, and this fluid is something that you don't even want to hear about. Amshajin. Amshaj literally means something that is mixed with different qualities. You find this word in the Quran in mixture as well. So here's a mixture, and you're probably talking about genetics, or the mixtures of the DNA code. So it says you were created from this drop of a mixed fluid. Why were you created? Nabtalihi. Nabtalihi ibtila. So that we may test you. So that you would be tested. So that there was a difficult test. فَجَعَلْنَاهُ. Now for this test we gave you some tools. فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We made you capable of hearing and sight, capable of perfection, capable of listening and understanding divine guidance, capable of perception. This may refer to the hearing and the sight of the soul. Now he says, with these tools, so my hearing, my sight, Inna hadaynahu sabila. Indeed, we guided you to the paths through divine guidance. We gave you guidance with the hearing and the sights. When you heard, when you saw, you knew that there was something beyond this life and there was somewhere to reach your full potential. Now, the test was, imma shakiran, are you grateful? Wa imma kafura, or are you covering up the truth? Are you not grateful? And we will see in the next surah how this connects, because gratefulness is literally connection to Allah. We have guided you to the way. Are you going to be connected to divinity and reach your full potential? Or will you cover up the truth and not be connected to divinity? So this forms the first section, which literally tells you and me that my origin was something not even worth talking about. So you don't talk about the fluids that made up the human beings. And it tells me I have two kinds of tools, my hearing and my sight, and that's also perceptions of the soul. And then it tells me that I have a choice. So I've been given free will, whether I am grateful. And when one is grateful, now take it another angle, when one is grateful, one uses what one has been given. When one is not grateful, one puts it away. So that's the first section. Now the second section, just one ayah. It's a consequence of covering up the truth. So he says, Inna, indeed we have, a'adadna, prepared, lil kafirina, for those who cover up the truth, salasila wa aghlalan wa sa'ira. So salasil is chains, aghlal is collars, and sa'ir is fire. And it gives you the impression, take off sa'ir at the moment, it gives the impression of a prisoner. So he says, when you cover up the truth and you don't connect with divinity, then you are imprisoning yourself with your desires, with your selfishness. There is no selflessness in your life. Here it's talking about selfishness. When you can only see you are imprisoning yourself in your own prison. And sa'ir indicates fire or that which burns. And because he's mentioned salasil and aghlal, he's saying it burns at a higher temperature. Just saying a fire was different. This was something that affected iron or affected metals, and therefore it burned at a higher temperature. So the image is of a prisoner, an image of a prisoner who is in chains of his own doing, and there's a higher temperature because it hurts so much. The selfishness hurts more than selflessness. Now we're talking about selflessness. So the moment you hear ayat like that, Allahumma ij'alna minhum, ya Allah, make us of these. So this is the recompense of those who are walking, talking righteousness. These are selfless people, and it's a detailed picture of Jannah. So let's see what they do. So what am I supposed to do if I want to be like them? Innal abrar. Now abrar comes from bar or bir, which is walking, talking righteousness. So those who are walking, talking righteousness, yashrabuna, they drink, min ka'sin. Ka's is any sort of containers, any beautiful glasses for drinks, kana, and their drink, mizajuha, is mixed with gafura, with gafur. Gafur, you could call it camphor. The Arabs used it as an exotic flavoring. So basically saying there's exclusivity for them because they exclusively gave their time to others. They were selfless, in other words. This is what it's trying to say. So their selflessness, the way they treated human beings, they will be treated. They treated human beings as special. This drink, aynan yashrabu biha, it'll be like a fountain from which they will drink. Yufajirunaha tafjira. It will burst out whenever you want. Their hearts were filled with goodness for other people. They served humanity with that sort of goodness, and therefore it will come back to them. That's basically what it's saying. What else did they do? So they served humanity. Yufuna bin nadr. They fulfilled their pledges. So number one, so their characteristics was they always kept their promises. And then وَيَخَافُونَ, they were in awe, yawman, of the day, كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا, on which there will be a lot of evil going on. So they were aware of accountability. They were absolutely in sync with that fact. So two things, they fulfill their promises, and they were always aware that we will be accountable. Now this is the story of the Ahlul Bayt. Now you probably all know this story of the house of Sayyidah Fatima and Imam Ali, how Imam Hassan and Hussein were ill, and the Prophet tells them to keep a nadhr of fasting for 3 days, and they keep that nadhr, and the children become better. Fizza fasts as well. But on the first day they fast, there's a knock on the door, and there's somebody who is a miskin, a person who cannot help himself. And they have got 5 loaves of bread or 5 rotis, whatever you want to say, and they give them away. The next day, an orphan knocks on the door and they give that away. And the following day, an asir, a prisoner, and they give their food away. And they basically drink only water. The Prophet, when he visits them after 3 days, sees the state of them. Can you imagine hunger for 3 days? And this surah is revealed. Jibreel brings down this surah. So why do they do this? وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامِ. They feed the food ala hubbihi. In other words, in his love. In other words, selflessly. They do it for a selfless reason. They give it to the miskin, the yatim, and the asir. And they say, Innama nut'imukum, we feed you liwajhi Allah, only for the sake of Allah. Totally selfless. We don't want anything back. La nuridu minkum jazaan wala shukra. We do not want you to give us anything back, neither do we want to thank you from you. So they do it totally selflessly. And they say, Inna nakhafu, and again we see here, Inna nakhafu, we are in awe, min Rabbina, of our Rabb, on a day, Yawman abusan kamtarira. Now the word used here is abus. Abus is like when it'll be total sadness. You know, you could call it frowning because you've got Surah Al Abasa, but it's like, it's not a good day. It's not a good place that they will be. So, Yawman abusan kamtarira. So what happens? Because of their selflessness, فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ, Allah will cover them. He will save them. شَرَّ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ, from the evil of that day. وَلَكَّاهُمْ نَظْرَةً وَسُرُورًا, and you will find that they on that day, their faces will be happy. There will be joy. Surur is happiness. Nadra is their faces will not feel down. They will not feel anything at all because of their selflessness. وَجَزَاهُمْ, and this is now Jannah, and the reward bima sabaru, for their sabr, for their persistence in doing good. Sabr is not only patience, but it's persistence in doing good, trying your level best, and then leaving it up to him. For them, they will have Jannah wa harira. Now, maybe sometimes you see harir is silk, but harir can also be ahrar, freedom. They'll be totally free. There's no shackles on them, nothing that's tying them down. Again, Jannah, muttaki'ina fiha ala al-araik. They will be chilling on couches. They will be chilling. La yarawna fiha shamsan. There is no sun. Now this is talking to an Arab audience as well. When you're talking to us, there's no harsh sun. Wala zamharira, and there's no biting cold. There's no intense cold. There's no cold night. So there's a relief. You don't have to worry about any of that. وَدَانِيَةً عَلَيْهِمْ ظِلَالُهَا. They will have shades. وَذُلِّلَتْ كُتُوفُهَا تَذْلِيلًا. And the fruits will be wherever they want. They'll be reachable stuff. Again, this is Jannah. وَيُطَافُ عَلَيْهِمْ, and served around them, serving for them. Or yutaf comes from tawaf. Around them, بِآنِيَةً مِنْ فِضَّةٍ. Ania is again sort of, if I can say, glasses, containers made of silver. وَأَكْوَابٍ كَانَتْ قَوَارِيرًا. So these vessels or these glasses will be crystal. So they'll be like glass. Let me change this. This will be, the glasses will be those of glass. They will look like glass, but they will be of silver. In other words, they won't break, unbreakable. I'm going to try and connect it to what we do. So what they did in life, their intentions and their actions, you couldn't change them. They were unbreakable. There was trustworthiness, there was truthfulness, and there was compassion, what I call TTC. Whenever you see these are metaphors of what the reward is like, which exactly matches what one does. Qawarira min fiddatin. So again, he says these glasses will be of silver. قَدَّرُوهَا تَقْدِيرًا. There's a precise measure. There is exactly how much they need. So in other words, even when they served, they made sure somebody got what he or she needed. They helped. Their selflessness was according to the need, not according to what I wanted. So maybe when I speak to children, I say, sometimes because I find coppers in my bag, I might put them in the sadaqah box because they're too heavy for me and I think I've done something good. I've put money in there, but this is because it was too heavy for me. It was more difficult for me to look after. They gave what was needed. They didn't give what was extra. And can I say, sometimes when we give clothes to charity, we just put them all in a black bag and we give them away. Do you fold them? Do you iron them? Do you give them the way you would like to have them? Do you give the best of what you have? Or do you give that which you do not need? These are all questions that come into this little sentence here. وَيُسْقَوْنَ فِيهَا. Now they're also being served. كَأْسًا, with this cup. كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا. It is mizajuha, again, I said it was a mixture. It is seasoned with zanjabil. Zanjabil is ginger. Ginger is warming. Ginger is beneficial. Ginger is lots of things. But Jannah ginger is different from world ginger. Because it says, Aynan fiha, the ginger of Jannah, the spring from which they will drink, to Samma, it is named Salsabila. And salsabil is something that goes down easy, doesn't get stuck. You try drinking ginger in the world. It's good for you. If you drink it, it kind of burns your throat. This will not burn your throat. So again, it goes back to when they serve people, when they're selfless, when they're serving people, they make sure that what they serve humanity doesn't get stuck to them. That it doesn't like, oh my God, she's done me a favor, or he's done me a favor. It's never like that. It's always so easy. They feel they've done it themselves. That's an art in itself. Yatufu alayhim, they will be waited. They'll going round them will be wildan, young people, mukhalladun, like eternally young. إذا رأيتهم, when you see them, hasibtahum, you will think lu'lu'an mansura, they're like scattered pearls. So they will be served. But that was the way they were too. They served people like that as well. Now that's not enough. So we're imagining this Jannah where you're getting served all this stuff, everything, you're chilling, all the rest of it. But he says this is the main thing. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ, and when you look, ثُمَّ رَأَيْتَ, and you look again, نَعِيمًا, you will see the ni'mah, وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا, and you will see this amazing, how shall I put it, your amazing assets. You will see what you have. So a constant blessing, main assets accumulated. If you can imagine, you're in a penthouse, and I'm just giving some worldly examples, and you have everything you want, but then you're taken to the balcony and you're told, all that land that you can see, that's what you built in the world with your selflessness. That's yours. That will be their dominion. Alayhim, aliyahum thiyabu sundasin. So upon them will be these cloaks of sundasin, which is silver, khuzrin, which is green. Now this is ever green, always is ever fresh, ever living. You'll have all the new season's clothes basically, and I'll come back to it in a minute. Wa istabrak, so the brocade, wa hullu asawira min fidda, and these bracelets of silver, so expensive watches, accessories, anything you can think of that makes you feel good. Rabbuhum sharaban tahura. And now the third bit, their Rabb will give them a pure drink. So again, this goes on, this works on how they were selfless. They were selfless with the best they had, and therefore they will get the best that they think. These are just metaphors of the dunya, but you cannot imagine what Jannah is like. Maybe you could call it Jannah Catering Company, Jannah Clothing Company, whatever you want to call it. And they will be told, إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءٌ, this is your reward. وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا, your efforts will be appreciated. So basically, bottom line, it's saying walking, talking righteousness is obedience to the Creator and serving His creation. And the way you and I serve creation will be reflected back in massive ways in the Akhirah. So now what do I do? How do I take this through? Because serving humanity is not easy. Serving other people with the best I have is not easy. So what do I do? So the first thing he says is, Inna nahnu nazzalna alayka al-Quran. The nazzala, gradual descent. Indeed, we have sent down to you gradually the Quran, tanzila. That's from Tanzil, basically. That's a gradual descent of the Quran. So we sent you down the Quran. Take your instructions from it. This is how you can reach and be the best. Because the moment we hear about Jannah, that's what we want. You want the best of everything. So he says the first thing, there are 5 I said. The first thing is fasbir. Have sabr. Persist. Patience. Steadfastness. Continue just doing your best to serve humanity. Fasbir li hukmi rabbika. So have patience on the orders of your Rabb. And the orders of your Rabb is to serve humanity. وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ. Do not follow the one who is athiman, who sins, أو kafura, or the one who covers up the truth. So by extension it's saying don't adopt their way of thinking. You see, Walid ibn Mughira and Utbah, they came to the Prophet and said, leave all this. If you leave all this stuff you're preaching, we will give you wealth, we will give you status, we will give you women. Anything you want, we will give it to you. So here, the second thing is, do not adopt the way of thinking of those who do not believe in serving humanity, who do not believe in obedience to Allah. The third thing, وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. Remember your Rabb in the morning and the night. Now, to be able to have sabr, and to be able to not be drawn into adopting the way of thinking of those who are selfish, you need spiritual strength. And spiritual strength comes from the remembrance of Allah. When Imam Rida was asked about this, and the next sentence, he talked about Salatul Layl. So the third thing was remembrance of Allah, morning and evening. And then, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ. The fourth thing, فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ. In the night, do sajda. Okay, so we can talk about Salatul Layl here. So remembrance. Then the fourth thing we had was Salatul Layl. And finally, وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا. And declare His perfection for a long part of the night. Whenever you wake up at night, subhanallah. Whenever you wake up at night, alhamdulillah. These are things that should come out of our mouths immediately. So basically what Imam Rida mentioned, سَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, is Salatul Layl. So we've got 5 things here. I'll go back to them once more, okay? Sabr. Second, not to adopt the way of thinking of those who cover up the truth and are selfish. Third, to remember Allah, His remembrance. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. Fourth, Salatul Layl. And fifth, Subhan, or to declare His perfection. And it's just phenomenal. And then said, this is talking about those who ask you to adopt their way of life. He says, إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ. The reason why they're so selfish is because they love this ajila, they love this short life. وَيَذَرُونَ. They disregard وَرَاءَهُمْ يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا. They're just behind them is a heavy day. They do not accept accountability. So basically he's trying to say that they have not got into the space where they believe in an akhirah, where they will be accountable. He says, for a minute, just think. نَحْنُ خَلَقْنَاهُمْ. We created them. وَشَدَّدْنَا أَسْرَهُمْ. We strengthened their joints. You know, if you're building something, MFI, I don't know, whatever you buy, IKEA, when you're building something, if you don't strengthen the joints, it falls apart. And he says, do they not understand that we strengthened their joints? You know, Asir is a prisoner. Asrahum, by the way. Asir is a prisoner who's tied with chains. So this is the joints that keep you together. He said, we created them and we tightened their joints. وَإِذَا شِئْنَا بَدَّلْنَا أَمْثَالَهُمْ تَبْدِيلًا. If we want, we could just take apart those joints, collapse them into flat pack, and we would have another thing built up there. And just think of flat pack furniture when you think of this. And then he says, إِنَّ هَذِهِ تَذْكِرَةٌ. This is a powerful reminder. This book is a powerful reminder. This is a reminder. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. So anyone who wishes to take this reminder, they will find a way to his Rabb, to their Rabb. In other words, they will find a way to their full potential. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. But know something. that freedom depends on His will. Nothing's going to happen unless He wills it. Inna Allah kana aliman hakima. Allah is all wise, and Allah is all knowing, and Allah is all wise. So the reliance on Allah, to do my best and to hand it over to Him, and He will sort it out. يدخل من يشاء في رحمته. He admits whoever He wishes into His rahmah. وَالظَّالِمِينَ, and those who do dhulm, those who do injustice. أَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. We have prepared for them a painful punishment. So the whole surah basically tells me that I need to be selfless. I need not to be selfish. Need to be selfless. It's going to be hard. Use the 5 things He's given me. Sabr, don't adopt their way of thinking. To be able to get spiritual strength for this, I need to remember Him. I need Salatul Layl, and I need to declare His perfection. So that in essence is Surah Al Dahr.